So the other day I was reflecting on the book of Job. Yes, one of the famous stories in the Bible. We learn mad game in that story as well, throughout scriptures as well. Anyway, but some of the things here I want to discuss about Job and the type of season most of us may be in, or we all go through that kind of season. But what I really admire about it is how he got through it and what we can learn from it and tie it into fitness and in our everyday life, because when you know the story, Job really didn't do anything wrong. Most people think he probably did something wrong, so that's why he lost what he had. When you think about fitness, you be like, oh, you skipped leg day? He didn't cheat on his diet or anything like that. And he lost everything, whether it's his wealth, his health, his family. He was covered in sores while doing the right thing. Sometimes it's like that too when you're training. You're hitting your macros, you're doing your diet, you're training how you're supposed to, and nothing seems to budge. You're thinking it's you, right? Or you're being punished, you know what I'm saying? But when you think of Job, Job wasn't a sinner in the sense, he wasn't in the Ryan Coogler movie either. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the people think that because you're going through a rough time, you did something wrong, right? And it's not even about that, to be honest with you. So we have to change our perspective. Just shit happens, yo. That's the ebb and flows in life. You know what I mean? If you get injured, training, I see that sometimes. Yo, I was doing everything right. My form was okay. What happened? You know what I'm saying? Why I'm feeling weak? I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Skip all that. You know what I mean? Don't beat yourself up. All right? So this here, we're going to extract some lessons from Job. All right? Like I said, more and more to read my description, I always talk about the fundamentals don't change, just the tools. You know what I'm saying? And life is about adversity. We have this misconception about life. And it's synonymous with training as well, that we shouldn't have any trials and tribulations because we're doing the right thing. I don't know who came up with that philosophy, but they sold y'all a fake or bootleg ticket to life. You know what I'm saying? You've been bamboozled if you believe that. Stop thinking that adversity means you're doing something wrong or it's an attack on your character. It's far from. Actually you should welcome it too, you know what I mean? And when it relates to fitness, it goes through or synonymous with like your body breaking down. You hit plateaus, your results stalls, you know what I'm saying? Your motivation disappears. And these things happen. It happens. It's part of the game, like you always say. You know what I mean? So while Job was going through his trials and tribulation, some of his friends, they do care about him, but they was coming up with all kind of wild scenarios, giving advice to him, telling him, oh, you must have sinned, you must have did wrong, whoop-de-whoop. You know what I'm saying? And they think they're giving him game, but they really was goofy. Not with any malicious intent, but they was goofy. They didn't understand anything, but I guess they cared. You know what I'm saying? And that may sound familiar. Anytime you're going through something, you may not get your gains. You hear your friends. You know what I'm saying? Yo, you're not losing weight because you're not trying hard enough. Oh, you're training. That's what it is. All of a sudden, everybody's a professional. They chat GPT and everything and watching a few episodes of House and everybody got some diagnosis for you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But it's just noise dressed as certainty. But you got to be centered within yourself to know, what's the difference. You know what I mean? So, like I said, you're going to have people like that in your life. They're not malicious. They really care about you. But sometimes they just confidently wrong. And it gets to the point that they're goofy. You know what I mean? So you have to learn the difference now between someone who's actually been through the trials and tribulations like you, similar to it, or those who just watch on the sideline. And you'll get that a lot from your friends and those who are not, especially like on the internet. Everybody think they're some guru and scholar. You know what I'm saying? But this is one part I think in the story of Job that is very important. I think most people overlook, because during this phase of Job's trial and tribulation of the story, we're going to call this like the ashes phase, right? This is the part that most people want to rush past. They don't want to sit in it. They don't want to sit in the dirt, so to speak. You know what I mean? Everybody wants the glitz and glamour part of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing I see with fitness. As a rapper said, that Instagram's a liar. And that's what it really is. Social media is full of shit. Don't believe everything that you see on it. You know what I mean? Everybody wants the day 1 to day 90, but not everything in between. This is why we always say it's the journey that's more important than the destination, because there's certain phases in the journey that you have to identify with, and you'll figure out who you really are. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can say they're him when things are her, when things are going their way, but who are you when it's not? You know what I'm saying? That determines your character. When you get punched in your mouth, how do you respond? All right? So it can be whether your injuries, right? That you think that's not healed, or you didn't come back as you want to. Like I said, you're plateauing. All these little things. You know what I mean? What do you do when motivation stops? You want to keep going, or you going to be like, man, this workout shit ain't for me, man. I ain't seeing my results, man. Damn, my injury's messing me up. I can't train. Who are you in those dark moments? You know what I'm saying? And all the time, and during this phase too, what really stops people is because they want an answer or explanation of why they're going through it. Now, sometimes you just got to sit in it. And the explanation may not come to you, but it's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? The key to all this is you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing forward. You know what I mean? And that's part of the decision you have to make. That's who you find out who you are. Do I sit here and stay in the ashes, or do I stand back up and become a new person? Okay? So at the end of Job's story, as we all know, he ended up becoming restored, right? But the beautiful thing about it is, because he was faithful, right? And before I go there, even his wife was goofy too, telling him, yo, you gotta curse God, whoopty whoopty whoop. Yo, fellas, be careful the lady you lay down with. Ladies, you do the same thing as well. Because they be the one closest to you, be whispering shit in your ear, they be having your downfall. And sometimes it's not malicious, they just goofy. You know what I'm saying? Just ask Samson. He was goofy. She wanted his downfall. He was just goofy, but that's another story. You know what I mean? But with Job, he stayed faithful. He didn't curse God. He kept it pushing. He kept going. And because of his faithfulness and him being steadfast, his reward was doubled. You see what I'm saying? So think about that. His reward was doubled, so now his baseline is different. So he's not the same person where he was when he first got the trial, right? So now he got through it. Think about it as you off a deload, you get in a program, you deload, then your muscles respond even stronger, right? Or the confidence you have coming off of an injury, because you actually rebuilt your body properly. You did it the correct way instead of rushing it to increase the chance of you injuring yourself, right? And I remember talking to someone too. He was like, he was an older gentleman, of course, you know, we always chop it up. And he was telling me he had surgery, right? And he was like, you know how you always get back the second surgery? He was like, that's when you rush the first, you don't take your time and you rush to come back and you get a second surgery. So he's like, no, he's taking his time. But in that conversation too, I told him, I said, family, God probably was handcuffing you because you were doing too much too quickly. You didn't take time for yourself to relax and focus on things you need to. And I said, oh, God was arresting you. And he said, you know what, T, you right. Because he thought certain people would be there for him and they weren't there. And I said, you see, by you getting the surgery, it slowed you down so you could see everybody better, much more clearer. You know what I mean? And now he's operating on different baseline. Now he's moving differently. You know what I mean? Still lovable guy, of course, but now he knows how to handle each person appropriately and accordingly. You know what I'm saying? And you do the same. Right? So now back to what I was saying. So now once you come back, you're even better. As the saying goes, hell is mean for purification, trials purify, right? So you got to think about this season, right? It's not a negative one, but it's building you up for something better. That's why sometimes you got to sit in your shit sometimes. Think about it as a craftsman building a sword, right? Think about the process that it goes through. You got to heat the steel up, beat the steel to shape it, dip it in water to cool it down, reheat it, beat it, cool water, and you just keep doing that until you fine tune the sword that you want, right? I forgot the name. I was gonna say the name of the sword in Kill Bill, where she got the Hamzu something sword. you know. But you get the drift. That's what it is in life. You know what I mean? So we're all being shaped and molded, and that's what alchemy is all about. It's not about running from the fire; it's running towards it to become something new. You know, and that's the element that's really beneficial to our growth. You know what I'm saying? So always think about it like that, and don't quit halfway through the process, because you're always a lot closer to what you want than you think you are. You know what I'm saying? Now, going for my trainers, of course, you know, I gotta look out for y'all too, because obviously I'm a trainer and I keep continuing to say that, but this is something that I had to learn as well. Sometimes our clients may be in a Job season, right, where they may be hitting a wall. They stop trusting the process, because in their mind they're not getting the results that they think they should get, because they're being faithful to the program that we prescribe to them, right? And I know sometimes as a trainer you want to have all the answers, because you are the person in authority. But sometimes it's okay to say I don't know, or don't be so quick to respond or have an answer for them. Sometimes you gotta give them the tools to find out on themselves, but let them know that during this season that they're not alone, that this is totally natural. You make the adjustments, and sometimes don't be quick to answer. Sit back, get some more information on what they're saying, and then you can assess it for yourself and see. Because sometimes it's just a tweak, or your client is just not patient with themselves. And 9 times out of 10, it's the latter. They're not patient with themselves. You see what I'm saying? So as one in authority, we have to assess their situation better and listen to what they're not saying as well. All right? And let them know that they got to trust the process and keep going. All right? So basically, that is it. In my conclusion, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to understand every plateau or setback that happens in your life, right? Or in fitness as well. What you need to understand, or what you need to do, is just keep showing up. I've spoken about this before. There's time when I'm training, I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this shit. I don't feel like training, but for whatever reason, I don't feel like training. I have to keep showing up, because slow motion is better than no motion. And last but not least, what I love about the story of Job, no matter how dark it gets, no matter the trial or tribulation, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. That you just keep looking forward and keep pushing forward, and your reward will be doubled. You know what I'm saying? But you got to believe in yourself that you can do it. All right? So this is Alchemy Fitness, where we transfer you from mental goals, train hard, train smart, and train safe. Also, let me know your Job season. Put it down in the comments. I love to hear it, how you getting through it. You know, if this resonates with you, send, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, of course, and share it with someone too, because probably they need to get out their Job season as well. So until next time, peace.